Hello everyone, welcome back to your own channel where we understand everything crypto. Today, we'll see how governments change the value of their currency and how they change the supply of paper money that's out there. We know that the biggest problem for us holding traditional money is that we have no control over the supply of that money in the future. The more we understand how traditional paper-based currencies work today, the more we can profit or avoid losing money from investing in cryptocurrencies in the future. Let us understand how governments increase and decrease the supply of money by using real-life examples from the US government, the Canadian government, the Egyptian government, and the Russian government. Governments spend a lot of money on infrastructures like building bridges, roads, and many more things. Where do they get that money from? It's not just from taxes because taxes are not enough. Okay, to understand where the money comes from, let me give you some examples. This will be a lot of fun. This is a World War II, United States, War Savings Bond, issued in January of 1945. Now, in January of 1945, the US government had no idea how long World War II would last, so they had to raise money to pay for World War II supplies. And they did so by selling debt, meaning selling bonds like this exact one here. What the US government did was they said, "Hey, if you buy this bond today, I will charge you $18.75 for it, and then in 10 years, I will buy this bond back from you at a price of $25. For example, people will give $100 million to the government and the government will give the people war savings bonds in return for that money. On the bond that you now bought, which you think is yours, it says that it's a contract. And it says how much you own and how much this will be worth when the government buys this back from you in the future after World War II is done. When it comes to cryptocurrencies, it's not just about investing in the next generation of currencies. It's so much more because cryptocurrency and blockchain are about creating more secure contracts. And the beautiful thing about blockchain is that in the long run, when smart contracts are created on the blockchain, transaction fees will come down a lot. We are going to build this logic very slowly in the many upcoming videos, so if you want to become better long-term cryptocurrency investors, make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell and watch all the videos in order. Now let us build upon this. What happens when you go to the grocery store and you see that the price of vegetables goes up a lot? Why does that happen? It happens because, for some reason, the supply of vegetables is lower, and the same thing happens with the supply of money. Since there is now $100 million less of US dollars in circulation among the population, the price of US dollars goes up a lot, just like the price of vegetables goes up a lot when supply decreases. When the price of dollars goes up a lot, everybody charges each other more for dollars, meaning interest rates go up. 10 years later, in 1955, World War II is over and you sell this bond back to the US government. And instead of the government giving you back $18.75, they give you back $25 or $100 million all in. Now, all of a sudden, there's more money supply out there and we know what happens when there's more of something out there. Right? Supply increases and therefore the price goes down a lot. And this is really important to understand when it comes to investing in cryptocurrencies. Countries spend a lot of money marketing these bonds that they issue, kind of like how McDonald's spends a lot of money on commercials. Let us see an example. In the spring of 1945, the Canadian government spent a lot of money marketing. They were marketing and advertising war bonds using this poster. We mention marketing or advertising bonds because cryptocurrency companies market the heck out of their initial cryptocurrency offerings or initial coin offerings, and there's a lot of unfair cryptocurrency marketing scams out there, which we will cover soon. So the likelihood that you get scammed while doing your research on cryptocurrencies is much lower. In 1917, the Russian government issued this bond to help pay for World War I. All governments issue bonds to pay for stuff, and this impacts the value of your money. In another example from 1898, the Egyptian government wanted to build a dam on the Nile River. We know this is very expensive to do. So the Egyptian government issued this bond in order to pay for it. Governments can manipulate their currency by doing these things, and imagine if they lose control and governments cannot make their currency. Now, you are probably starting to understand why a lot of countries are starting to outlaw cryptocurrency. Governments aren't the only ones to raise money with bonds. Companies also do this, to pay for really expensive stuff all over the world. For example, the Walt Disney Corporation had to raise a lot of money to build Euro Disney in 1983. Now that we understand why governments and companies raise a lot of money, let's see who makes a fortune helping governments and companies raise these massive amounts of money. Who? Yes, the banks, the investment banks like JP Morgan, which makes billions of dollars every year creating and underwriting these bonds as well as stocks. Now we understand why banks and governments feel threatened by cryptocurrencies. If countries lost just a little bit of their power to issue bonds, if they lost the power to change the supply of money, they would have less control over their own budgets and potentially much less control over their national security. And we know governments do whatever they can to make sure that they never lose power. So, if a government loses just a little bit of control over how it can change the value of its currency supply, because we as consumers buy more cryptocurrency and less fiat paper money, then it makes sense why many governments do not like cryptocurrencies, right? The governments around the world that like to have more control, in the long run, are probably going to be more critical and impose more regulation on cryptocurrencies. Now, it makes sense that some governments might view cryptocurrencies as the largest long-term threat to national security. And we need to understand the geopolitical impact when we do research on cryptocurrencies. Let's see a hypothetical example. Let's say that we exchange 5% of our net worth from our local currency to cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Then the demand for currencies in your country, and hence the price of the currency in your country, goes down. If this took place, governments would lose a lot of control. If we hypothetically exchanged 20% in the very, very long run from the currency in the country we live in, to cryptocurrencies, then some governments and countries would literally go bankrupt. Yes, it's true. Why? Because many countries pay for the interest on their current debt by issuing more debt, meaning by issuing bonds. Bonds are a form of debt. Now, if all of this occurs, if we demand more for cryptocurrency and less for our fiat currency in the country we live in, then governments will not be paying the big global banks like JP Morgan as much money in fees to create or underwrite these bonds or stocks, and JP Morgan's stock price would go down because they would make less money. The way that stocks are put on the stock market, it's a similar process to bonds as well. Here's a stock certificate from IBM. As IBM issues more shares, a big investment bank like JP Morgan makes money from putting their stock on the market. Now we completely understand why bank CEOs and government officials say negative things about cryptocurrencies. It's fascinating. Everybody has a bias in business. And we need to understand the bias of people advertising or selling cryptocurrency as well. We will be much better long-term crypto investors because we understand the overall biases of different people involved with cryptocurrencies.
That's it for today. Thank you for watching the video. Hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and also like the video if this is something that interests you. Until next time, keep working towards a better version of yourself. Respect your parents. Take care.